Welcome back to the Dopesick Show. You won't get sick of. I'm Spencer, and this is Sasha. I spent most of my 20s in federal prison, but have been off heroin since April 9, 2010. Got a lot of stories about the stupid stuff I did to get put in prison. Also got quite a few stories about the crazy stuff that happened while I was in federal prison. And God forbid you end up in prison, you won't have to make some of the same mistakes I made. So, I'm going to leave a pinned comment in my other channel. I'm going to start doing regular videos there of some of the same stories, but unfiltered. I don't cuss on here. And some of the stories I have been told by people close to me that when I just go unfiltered and just speak my mind are completely different in that they're 10 times funnier. So there's a lesson and everything like that here, and I'm very happy with how this is on this channel, so I'm not going to do anything to divert from that. But on that channel, be a little bit more for comedic value. And trust me, some of the stuff I'm going to say is pretty funny, but, you know, I get a little bit wild, so, you know, don't have playing around in kids in the room because you don't want to hear what I'm saying. Second off, this is the favorite story of Scott Cujo Sigmund. Scott Cujo Sigmund, former WBC boxing champ, fought Roy Jones Jr. in Roy's hometown, won 2 rounds against me, lost the fight, but he went the distance in Roy's hometown in Roy's most recent fight prior to Roy fighting Mike Tyson. He's also fought Kelly Pavlik, another number of big names. But anyway, next week I'll be starting a channel for his gym. Native Nightmare, Austin, Indiana, 9-0 with 6 knockouts. I'll have that fight up. Owen Hilton, that's my buddy. I believe he's 6-1 right now. He just avenged his only loss. He's supposed to be fighting 2, I believe. But Scott would have me tell this story. Before I even met the person who I was telling it to, as soon as I walked in, before he, hello or anything else, tell him about, and he'd say, this story. I have told this story to a preacher. I have told this story to an 80-year-old man that's been training with Scott for a decade. That man could hit the speed bag too, 80 years old. Whenever I was learning, I was ashamed of myself. This 80-year-old man was, you know, walking like an old man, then get over there and hit that speed bag like crazy. Let me tell it to somebody who's been in 20 years for murder. I have told this story to the widest range of people as soon as I walked in his gym. And he's also one of the people that suggested I started a channel, him and Owen Hilton. Owen's my buddy. So this is their favorite story. Now, the nickname of this person is one that's not really politically correct, so I'm not going to say it. But basically, he got the nickname, we're just going to call him Big Little Person. But he had a nickname, Big Something Else. So, this guy's name's Antonio Boone. And this guy was like my brother. I'm serious. This guy, he taught me back a good many times when I found out my ex, who I affectionately refer to as a no-good, down-dirty hussy, He taught me back. You know, I was about ready to just crash dummy in, you know, just ready to smack somebody first thing that happened. You know, he taught me through a whole bunch of stuff. Also, when I got back to the low security from the medium security, he got me right in a weightlifting group. And the weightlifting group that he had, he was in the drug program at the time. It was all guys that he was in the drug program with. It was a big group, 7 people including me. And I'm the only white guy. Everybody else in the weightlifting group is black. Some of them didn't like it just because I was white. I mean, I kind of feel it. Made a really good few friends, though, in the group, too. When he left, I switched groups to my buddy, JB, who I've talked about often. But anyway, he didn't care. He got me right in that group. And you can't just go lift. You got to have a group to lift with, because every hour, the bar and certain dumbbells are passed group to group every hour, because there's a 10-minute move in which they open the compound for you to move place to place. Every time it moves, it's passed to somebody else. You can't just go out there and lift. You got to have a group to lift. A lot of times it takes a few months till you make friends, everything else. My first week back at the low security from the medium, I was out there lifting with them. And you know, that was really cool of him. And he always had my back, always had his. But anyway, he's about 5'4", 240 pounds. He's built like a tank. He's not the least bit chubby. This guy has a body of somebody that has been in prison for decades of their life. Okay? Huge. Now, he could bench over 400 pounds. I saw him rep out 225 for somewhere in the mid-30s. Okay? He repped 225 for 30-some reps. Yeah. He squatted in the mid-500s. And he deadlifted in the mid-600s. Okay, but he strained quite a bit doing it. See, it's not good to do that. And kind of lucky I didn't get hurt lifting with the group, because it was a lot of ego lifting. With the next group I switched to, I had a lot more progress in bench press, which I didn't have a lot of progress with his group because they try to make you lift heavy. You know, it's kind of like an ego thing where And if anybody picked up the 20 or 25 pound weights on the weight pile, especially if a big guy did it, him or the other groups, he'd point people out. This is the ego lift type thing. He'd say, "Oh, so and so got the TTs." They call them the TTs because it's the smallest weight. You can get a lot done with the 20, 25 pound weight, especially rear delts, stuff like that. Rear delts require a little less weight to actually have success with, but that's how ego driven it was. Now, that being said, he strains a lot with lifting and everything else. Now, like I say, he's 5'4", 240. Biggest head you've ever seen on somebody that height. Hands the size of looks like he got gloves for hands, like shovels for hands. Okay, so he's kind of got funny features in that he's like, it's like you took like a little tank and then you just shrunk it down into his size. But anyway, one of the first times I seen him at the low securities before I went to the medium, I was in peel line. I was up towards the front of the line, and everybody runs the peel line. Like, okay, you know how kids run to be first in line? That's how it is in prison. When they call people to go to peel line, they release all the buildings at once. And you're not supposed to run on the compound, but people like do a little quick walk and they do a little jog. Same thing with kitchen. And I got up there quick. I'd do it too. I'm not going to lie. I didn't want to stand in that line. So I'm up getting ready to get my medicine, and I see back in line, and there's a number of chomos that are in the line too. I see Boone running up, and he's got this grin on his face. Now, it's funny because he's built like this stocky little guy. And, he's built like this stocky little fella. Sasha might be out. But anyway, he's smiling. He's got this grin on, like, it looks like a cartoon character. And you see his little arms going real quick. And he's running to get past people. He gets up field line. He decides he don't want to wait that long in line. And there are chomos in line. So basically, he walks up these chomos. And he's running. And then he walks up beside each person in the line. It's like a chomo and stuff. And he's running in place. He doesn't stop running. He doesn't just stop and say it. He's running in place, and he looks at each person. He says, "You don't like it, do something. You don't like it, do something. You don't like it, do something." And he got up to the front, and I was laughing about that. It was funny. Funny seeing this guy run, because, his legs were about this big around. It was funny. So I get back to the low from the medium security. And there's one day specifically that was funny, because, see, the one guy, he gave everybody nicknames. Okay, the one guy was South Cat, because he was South Carolina. The one guy, his name was Tracy, so he called him Trey Love. Another guy, and the one guy he called Light Skin because he was light skinned. He had a nickname for everybody. My nickname was the same carried from the medium. It was Taz. That was the one that ended up sticking, and whatever. But anyway, that just stuck with me. If not, I'm glad I did, because he probably would give me something crazy, and I would have got, "Hey, I'd be like, you better not." And anyhow, so the guy Trey Love, he was cutting down for a bodybuilding competition. They got a bodybuilding competition every year at Petersburg Low. They also have a powerlifting competition. I wasn't doing that bodybuilding thing. That wasn't as much for me. I just wanted to, I wanted to be strong. I didn't bodybuilding. And they take that stuff seriously. They diet down, they dehydrate and everything. Trey Love got ripped for that thing, but, just in support of him, we did a lot of extra cardio stuff, just in support of him, just to, be working with him, because he's part of our workout crew, to support him through that. And these guys, you would not believe these guys didn't have supplements if you saw them, not even protein powder, okay? But when all you do is eat, sleep, lift, repeat, and there are geniuses in there that were put in there. The guy who wrote the best meal plans, and he had the most winners out of any bodybuilding and powerlifting competition during the time I was there, is Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is a stocky white guy, but he doesn't dress like, to show off. He looks like he's reasonably big, but you can't tell how big this dude was. He was in prison for robbing pharmacies and selling steroids. Him, a pharmacist, and a lawyer decided they were going to rob pharmacies. Who'd believe it? Well, somebody believed it. He got 15 years. They each made $10,000 profit per pharmacy. So $30,000 they made for robbing each pharmacy. They just hand all the stuff over to one guy. They'd get the $10,000 apiece. They robbed a number of them, okay? That's a whole nother set of stories. But there was a guy who snitched on them. They let him in the crew to do a couple jobs. The guy snitched on him. And that guy actually ended up at the prison with Steve. So he was in the prison with his snitch. But anyhow, he'd write these meal plans and stuff, and he wrote mine. And, that's what got me up in the numbers in powerlifting. But anyhow, we're down at the low security indoor rec. At the indoor rec, it's a giant indoor gymnasium with bleachers. It's like a high school basketball gym. It's that big. It's incredible. It's a medium security indoor rec's a joke. It's like a 20 by 40 foot area, and the treadmills they've got there don't plug in. It's kind of like a hamster wheel. You got to dig your feet into it. But the low security, it's a different story. They got these bikes and everything else. There's an exercise bike, and he gets on that bike, but he's riding it standing up. Now think about this. This guy's 5'4", 240 pounds, and he's standing up riding an exercise bike, and he got legs this big around. And I'm watching him. I'm like, what are you doing? You look silly right now. And a couple people looking over and kind of laughing a little bit too. So, hey, boom. You might want to sit down on that. I said, people starting to laugh, giggle at you a little bit. I said, you're a little bit too big. I said, you're a little bit too short and you're a little bit too big to be, standing up trying to ride this bike. You look a little silly right now. Because, you saw his little feet going, wee. And, but anyway, he said, I can't, dog. I'm like, why not? Well, can't sit down? What's wrong with that? He said, got these hemorrhoids, dog. Can't do it. I said, is that bad? I said, yeah, it's that bad. And he told me, he said, one of them about that big, one of them about that big. I said, that big? Hanging up out of there? Yeah, it's like that. So anyway, he ends up getting released. When he got released, I switched the weightlifting groups. But this was like my best friend. I heard rumors that he got popped. Certain words I can use, certain words I can't on here. They don't like certain words. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. That was the rumor everybody was saying. I tried calling him probably about 10 times a day for about a week. I finally get a hold of him. I said, man, what happened to you? I said, I heard you got popped. He said, oh, no, dog. He said, that was just some old girl I used to mess around with, put something out on Facebook. And I said, what happened to you? I said, what happened to you? I said, we've been worried, man. I said, I thought you might not be with us. And what happened? What happened to you? And he basically said, I don't cuss on here. This part is a little bit wild though, so just go ahead and be ready for that. If you got your kids around, take them out the room right now. He said, well, I was eating some butt, my butt fell out. What does that mean? You eating some? You what? He said, basically, he was in the bedroom with his girlfriend. And, he said his, basically think about a sock. If you take a sock and, you stick your hand in it and you grab the part and you turn it inside out. At a very inopportune time, he had a prolapsed butthole. His guts fell out. And he told her, baby, my butt fell out. She said, you're always playing. You're playing too much. Now is not the time to play. He said, I'm not playing. You need to call the people. This is an emergency. So the ambulance came. They put him on a stretcher. They had to scoop his guts back up and put him up inside of him. Yeah, like one of them injuries. Oh, my God. Can you imagine? Oh, Lord, have mercy. I can't even imagine. What? That'd be embarrassing as could be. What do they put just so many questions about that. But yeah, he was in the hospital. He had to have surgery, had to put his guts back up inside him. So if you're lifting where you're getting hemorrhoids, and I'll tell you, I got me one of them hemorrhoids one time when I was in there lifting in his crew. I remember because I was in Richmond Hall, the building I was living in at the time. They had stalls there with locks on them. That's really cool. That's low security. The bathroom, they have stalls with locks. It's not like in a pod where a CO might just swing the door open and when you got the bathroom sign up. So I remember it's got a thing of toilet paper dispenser thing beside. And I remember I used half a roll of toilet paper. I kept thinking I had something hanging off. Why can't I get this lady? What was going on? And poked it, and I was like, oh. Yeah, it went away, but Lord, it scared me to death. I called my dad. I asked him about, because my dad's a pharmacist. And I asked him about it. And he said the most awkward thing ever. And I was like, Jesus Christ, Dad. And I said, Dad, this thing got, and he's like, oh, he said, that's a hemorrhoid. Your mom got those when she was pregnant with you and your sister. I'm like, well, thank you for that information. I did not want. But yeah, lifting too much, you get that. You better stop. Your butt might fall out. Boom's butt fell out. Lord have mercy. Yeah, he was a crip. He did probably about 15, 20 years before he got out. And I can't find him now. He might be back in prison. I'm trying to find him on Facebook. He's on there for a little bit. He's kind of associated with everybody and everything, became a hermit for the longest time, but here recently I've contacted some old friends from prison. And but anyway, that's the story of the reverse pink sock. The worst injury a dude could have, I reckon. So if you liked the video, press the like button. But if not, that's 14 minutes and 56 seconds of your life, in which you'll never get back.